Coleman wires and cable. Great quality. Now with the new look.
All right, still journalist hangout. If you just joined us, interesting times, I tell you. I still have 21J right here and Charles Ideho. BKO is also joining us via Zoom. All right, BKO, are you still with us? All right, so BKO, before we went on that break, I asked you a question. Now that the Supreme Court has given his judgment, do you still think a political solution is still necessary? Or you still think a political solution is still possible?
I doubt it. I doubt if political solution is possible because the combatants went to great lengths to damage one another. And when you go to extraordinary lengths to destroy your adversary, it is difficult for anybody to bring you together and preach peace. I predicted at that time that the committee set up by Pandev, led by set up by the late Edmund Clark and headed by Obon Victor Atta, will achieve nothing. I predicted that the combatants will not go before the committee. The question I want to ask you is, what has come out of the Pandev Reconciliation Committee? Absolutely nothing, because it should have happened earlier. But rather than having it happen earlier, the members of Pandev, the elders in the state, took sides in the matter. Everyone had a dog in the fight. So once you take side in that way, nobody will trust you to be able to hammer out some form of reconciliation. If Fubara called Wike the rat that was eating the Gari, and he said he had used Otapiapia to kill the rat that was eating the Gari, everyone could understand what he meant. Now, a man who made you governor will easily forgive you after you described him as a rat that was eating the bag of Gari. Let's face it, it makes it difficult for reconciliation to happen. I think they've gone too far. And in politics, you cannot force people to be friends. I always say that there are some politicians in our country who will never agree to be in the same party. And I've been proved right again and again. You cannot bring Atahiru Bafarawa and Magatakada Wamako into the same party. It's not going to happen. Kwankwaso and Gwanduje at this time will never be in the same party. One would rather leave the party for the other. And we're seeing it happen. So there are people who never agree to even be in the same party, not to talk of working together. So I think that in the early days of the conflict, the combatants went too far. It will be difficult for them to forgive one another, given what they had said about one another, given what they had done to one another. This is the thing. The rat that was eating the Gari, we have used Otapiapia to kill him. Come on. There are things you don't say even in conflict. You must leave room for the possibility of reconciliation.
Exactly.
But when you say certain things, it becomes difficult to walk back. In my view, I still retain the feeling and the view that it is a legal solution that will solve this problem. Because, look, once the Supreme Court takes its decision, it's final and it's binding on everyone. That has always been the case in our country. And it is not going to start with Fubara that it is with Fubara that people will not obey Supreme Court judgment. No, except we want the democracy that we labored to institute to die in our hands. And it's not going to happen because a lot of the people constituting a big threat to democracy today, they did not join us in fighting for democracy. They did not confront the military. Or some of us confronted the military. We lost our friends in the process. We can tell stories about how people like Bagada Kalto were killed. And we were working together. We can tell stories about people who went to jail, Kunle Ajibade and the rest of them. So, the decision of the Supreme Court is binding.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Okay.
I do not envisage that we will have a problem that we cannot control. The political leaders in the states, in their own interest, now have to sheath their swords and allow the judgment of the Supreme Court to take root.
For the interest of...
That's no other... resorting to violence is not the solution.
It's not the solution.
And if people resort to violence, then the state has the resources to put out the violence. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Charles, your thoughts here?
Yeah, my thoughts on
do you agree with BK?
Yeah, I do agree. But again, it doesn't always go. In politics, one person is always two.
You still think anything is possible?
I know anything is possible, but you see, if you look at the antecedents, if you put Rivers State on a map, political map, we know that there's, I think it seems as if, wrongly so, it seems as if Rivers State thrives on violence. You know, any little thing you see things sparkling and all that. You see, as I said, when we went to break, we were saying here that politicians, they always find a way to buy time. The judgment of the Supreme Court is final. We all agree. That's founded. But the question is that with the politicians and also the several interests within the state, they also look for a way to buy time. Okay, I've not seen the CTC, the certified true copy.
Yes.
Okay, we are trying to study it. Oh, we will do this one. All these things.
All just to buy time.
Just to buy time while they are working on how to possibly circumvent the whole thing and all that. But again, as I said, you can't change that Supreme Court judgment. It's there and it's there, it's final.
But you can't circumvent the Supreme Court judgment.
But again, there has been several cases in this country when the Supreme Court has said certain things. We know that it is true. But the politicians always look for an open window.
Loophole.
There's a window, they're always looking for that window to latch on to say, okay, what can we do? Exactly. They might obey, but they will find a little way to delay it so that they'll be able to, like Ufubara right now, we know that it's a loan. It's a loan in the manner of speaking. So would you Fubara, knowing that he's going to be confronting his enemies, politically speaking, to just, okay, go and reconvene, I'll meet you, knowing that he has nothing to back him up. So he will look for a backup before he is going to present himself before them. It is when he's going to procure the backup that the issue of the delay will come in for them to. No, you look at it, very soon you will hear all these things and they come to play.
Let me have your thoughts here.
I just pity the people of Rivers State, sincerely speaking. Yeah, I just pity the people of Rivers State at this juncture because since the current administration came on board, it's been one issue or the other. One court issue, this or that. Crisis here and there, and it has to stop. It has to stop. I say it again, and I'm going to say it again. I'll keep saying it. That if that, definitely the Supreme Court, they've ruled. You can't dispute it because there's no other court. There's no other layer of court. They're going to. The state government is going to appeal. But just as Chav said, we are talking about Nigerian politicians here. I don't want to mention a particular government who went and asked Supreme Court to review his case.
Yeah, exactly.
So if things are possible here, what I am saying is this, and it's that Governor Sim Fubara and the current minister of the FCT must sit down. Definitely.
Okay, when you
it
say,
has gone beyond. It has gone. No, just as Jide said. No, just as Jide said.
Okay.
It's going to be a bit difficult.
Yes.
But again, I'm putting the people of Rivers State in perspective here.
To insist.
You said everybody is equal, but in politics, somebody has to be ahead. Otherwise, all of us will be in government house with different offices.
Now I say, but when you say sit down, Who has that capital to bring them to the table? Who should be at the table for
the president?
You think the president
he's done it before.
Involved
no, he's done it before. I'm not calling him at this point. It has gone beyond him. You know, at the early stage of this whole, he called them. He told them, summoned them to Aso Rock, and then they all went back, go and implement this,
nothing came out of it.
And then nothing came out of it. But I still insist. I don't know how it's going to happen.
Yes.
But without them putting this thing, sitting down, and then I'm not just mentioning the Rivers State governor and Wike. They are not the owners of Rivers. There are some serious stakeholders in Rivers State that are equally involved and are concerned as we speak right now. And I'm not sure they are sitting down quietly. Okay. Things are working as we speak because of this judgment. If they don't sit down, I've told you the likely scenarios, things that will happen between now and Monday. What is Monday? Between now and 12 a.m. today, things will happen in Rivers. That is where that's what I said earlier. That is where government, federal government at this point needs to be ahead of the game, because we have to look at the interest of the people of Rivers State beyond politics.
Okay.
Beyond politics of few individuals, because we are talking about two people fighting here. And most times it's not about the people. But it has to be about the people.
But it should be about the people.
It should be about the people.
BKO, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. Let's look at the Rivers people now. This judgment, is this a victory for the Rivers people, or is this victory for rule of law?
It's victory for both, in my view.
Both.
Let's leave the Fubara and Wiki. Let's put them aside. In the meantime, does it make sense to you that 3 persons should run a House of Assembly? Tell me where you've ever had that happened.
It's unbelievable.
So if that was the case, can it be beneficial to the generality of our people when decisions in the assembly are being taken to the exclusion of the representatives of the majority of the people? You've ensured that the people do not get involved in decision making if their representatives do not have a say. If the governor simply goes to 3 persons, it's the height of absurdity. And the Supreme Court has stepped in now to say, no, enough of that, because this was an embarrassment to us as a nation. The most backward African countries, this sort of thing had never happened. 3 persons, one of them speaker. So let's get down to brass tacks here. A decision has been taken. I've not seen any Nigerian governor that because the decision of the Supreme Court went against him, he now started doing something funny. I've not seen that governor, and I'm a historian. I've not seen that governor. Even during military rule, decisions went against the military, and they were obligated to obey the decision of the courts. People like Ganifa Wemi, they were always going to court against the military, and they got a lot of judgments, which the military, despite the fact that they like to rule by decree, they were obligated to obey. So I do not see how
it's going out.
I do not believe that violence will break out. I believe that the leaders now will behave responsibly. And the leader of the state, the leader is the governor. The governor knows now that he has to obey the Supreme Court decision. And I expect that Martin Amaewule and co. will now have full access to the premises of the House of Assembly for them to continue, because the Supreme Court directed that they should do their job, they should be allowed to do their job without hindrance. So The political solution now is for the governor to say, okay, I was waiting for the final court to take his decision. Now that it has taken a decision, it has not gone in my favor, but I will respect the Supreme Court. So because the Supreme Court validated his position as governor, so people took him to court. So he has to abide by the decision. Let's not be pessimistic and believe that, oh, maybe violence will break out and know that there will be violence. No. Let's be hopeful that these people will allow reason to prevail. Because they know that any wrong step that they take can lead to loss of lives and all that. There is no responsible politician who will want to do that. If you are in government in the interest of your people, you are not going to take steps that could lead to loss of lives, that could compromise the peace and tranquility of your state. So the Supreme Court has taken a decision. It has to be obeyed. And all of the transactional individuals going to Rivers State for the purpose of making money and worsening the crisis in the state. I think at this state, they should respect themselves. They should stay in their own states and allow the people of Rivers to resolve their issues. Going to Rivers State to make money and causing more crisis, because you can see that there's so much money to make in that state. This is the time for such people to respect themselves, stay in their own states, and allow the people of Rivers State to settle their differences, to resolve their differences, rather than going there to worsen the crisis in the state. The people I'm talking about, they know themselves, but they are so incorrigible. They keep going to that state just to cause more crisis. These are crisis, people profiteering from crisis, and it's unfortunate.
All right, beautiful one, BKO.
People who profiteer from crisis.
Just in maybe 10 seconds or 20 seconds, your final thoughts on this.
People who profiteer from crisis, they don't moralize. The more the crisis, the more money they make. So those people will never pray for any peace. They will never. So and I actually
you agree with him?
I agree with him for the because Bajiri is wishing and also hoping. But I hope he hopes and his wish will come to pass.
All right, gentlemen, let's move straight to our next conversation. Regional security frameworks rely on collaborations, share intelligence, and joint military operations to combat insurgency. The recent exit of Niger Republic, Mali, and